Virgo, the lens changed, not gradually, not in the slow, barely perceptible way that most shifts in perception move through a person without their noticing until the shift is already complete. It changed the way a photograph develops in the dark through a process that was happening without anyone watching, and then suddenly, all at once, the image was there, clear, specific, bearing no resemblance to the blurred impression that existed before the developing began. Someone is looking at you differently today than they were looking at you before. And the difference, the specific, significant, this changes everything difference between the previous view and the current one is the subject of what spirit is bringing through for this collective right now. Take what belongs to you today. What resonates, let it stay. What does not, release it gently and move on. But for those of you who have been living with the specific, quietly frustrating experience of being misread, of knowing that the version of you that exists in a certain person's understanding is inaccurate in ways that matter, in ways that have been shaping how they treat you and what they believe you are capable of and what they think they know about your intentions. This reading is for you, all of it. Today, soft sigh. Let me speak about the old view first, because understanding what is being replaced is essential to understanding the significance of what is replacing it. The view this person had of you was built from incomplete information, not necessarily from malice, although for some of you in this collective, the incompleteness was not entirely accidental, but from the specific limitations of seeing only part of the picture, of having access to your behavior in certain contexts without understanding the circumstances that produced it, of having received information about you from sources whose motivations were not entirely neutral, or from their own wounded interpretation of events that colored the lens before they had a chance to look through it clearly. And so they saw a version of you, a real version in the sense that it was built from real elements, from real things you did or said or were in specific moments, but not the full version, not the version that accounts for context, for intention, for the full and complicated truth of who you are and why you do what you do and what was happening in you during the moments they were using as their primary evidence. The version they had was a partial photograph, and partial photographs tell stories that the full image would tell differently. The full image is developing. That is what Spirit is pressing forward today with an urgency that I feel in the quality of the energy rather than any single specific piece of information. Something has happened, is happening, has been happening in the invisible space of this person's honest reckoning with what they thought they knew that is allowing the full picture to emerge, that is giving them access to information or to a quality of understanding that was not available to the partial photograph view. And the full picture, the one that is developing in the dark of their own private revision, looks so different from the partial one that the revision itself has become disorienting. It is one thing to update a small detail of your understanding of someone, to add a piece of context that slightly softens a previous impression. That is ordinary. That is simply how understanding deepens over time in any relationship of significance. What this person is experiencing is not that, it is the full foundation level revision of a picture they believed was complete. The discovery that what they were looking at was not the whole thing, and that the whole thing, when it becomes visible, requires them to reconsider not just what they believed about you, but what they're believing it says about the quality of their own seeing. Uh, that second reconsideration, the one about their own seeing, is the uncomfortable part. And it is what is producing the quality of reckoning I feel in their energy right now. Because it is relatively easy to update your understanding of another person. It is considerably harder to sit with the question of why you were so certain, so confident, so willing to act from the partial picture as though it were complete. To ask yourself what it says about you that you accepted the version you had without pressing for the fuller one. That you built your behavior towards someone on a foundation of incomplete information and called it knowing them. They are sitting with that question right now in the private, unwitnessed space of someone who has arrived through whatever path brought them here at a quality of honesty about their own perception that they were not applying before. Now hear what is moving in them, because Spirit keeps bringing this voice forward and it needs to reach you today. I thought I understood you. I want to say that clearly because the confidence of it, the specific, entirely unjustified confidence with which I operated from a version of you that was never the full picture, is something I owe you an honest accounting for. I was certain in the way that people are certain when they have enough information to feel informed without having enough information to actually be it. And from that certainty, I made decisions about you, about what you were capable of, about what you intended, about what you meant and what you did not mean, that were built on a foundation that the full truth of you would not have supported. I know that now. I know it in a way that I cannot unknow, that has settled into my understanding of this situation with the specific, irreversible quality of something that has been seen and cannot be unseen. And what I am sitting with in the quiet and the honest reckoning that the new information has produced is the full weight of what my certainty cost. What it cost you in the daily, real, this is how it registered in your life way that someone else's misunderstanding of who you are tends to cost the person being misunderstood. Soft sigh. The truth about you is larger than what I was seeing, more complex, more generous in its intentions, more worthy of the specific quality of fairness that I was not extending because I believed incorrectly, confidently, consequentially, incorrectly, that I already had the full picture. I did not have the full picture. And the full picture, now that it is available to me, makes the view I was operating from look not just incomplete but wrong in the ways that matter, in the ways that reached you. Oh, feel that, because that is the quality of what is shifting in this person's understanding. Not a minor softening of a previous impression, not a small addition of context that slightly updates the existing view. A fundamental, floor level revision, the kind that requires rebuilding the entire structure of how they understand you because the foundation the previous structure was built on has revealed itself to be wrong. And structures built on wrong foundations do not survive honest inspection. Now I want to speak about the truth that is about to be revealed because this reading carries that promise, and I want to honor it with the specificity it deserves rather than leaving it as a vague, atmospheric sense of something clarifying. Uh, the truth that is coming into the light is the truth of your character. Not in the abstract, this is a good person sense that is easy to say and easy to dismiss. In the specific, evidence based, this is what the full picture shows, sense, the truth of your intentions in the moments that were misread, the truth of your motivations in the situations that were interpreted through the lens of the partial picture, the truth of the gap between who you were assumed to be and who you actually were, which is a gap that, when it fully comes into view, is going to require a quality of acknowledgement from this person that the previous view made unnecessary. Because the previous view, whatever specific shape it took in your particular situation, allowed a certain comfortable distance from the full accounting, allowed this person to operate in the belief that their understanding of you was sufficient and their behavior toward you was therefore justified. The new view removes that comfort, replaces it with the specific and uncomfortable clarity of someone who can no longer point to their understanding of you as justification for how they treated you, because their understanding of you has been revealed to be something they had no right to be as confident in as they were. That clarity is arriving, and with it the truth about you that was always present but never fully visible. The truth that the people who have known you longest and seen you most clearly have always had access to. The truth that you have been living with the entire time, quietly, without the vindication of being seen accurately while the partial photograph version circulated in the understanding of someone whose view of you mattered. It is coming into focus now in their understanding. With the slow, deliberate, cannot be rushed quality of a photograph developing, each detail becoming clearer, each element of the full image becoming more defined, the whole picture emerging with an inevitability that the developing process always produces once it has been set in motion. You cannot undevelop a photograph, and you cannot unsee a truth once it has become clear enough to see. Soft sigh. What does this mean for you? Not in the strategic, how do I use this sense, but in the real, what does it change in my daily experience of this situation sense? Because the shift in their view is not occurring in isolation. It is producing changes in how they are moving, in what they are preparing to say, in how they are showing up, in the quality of the acknowledgement that is forming in them as a direct result of the view changing. Something is coming toward you from their direction, not a casual update. The full thing, the acknowledgement that the previous view was wrong, that you were seen inaccurately, that the version of you they were operating from was insufficient, and that their operating from it produced consequences for you that the full truth of who you are did not deserve. Receive that when it comes. Not with the triumphant, I knew it quality of someone whose vindication has finally arrived after a long wait, although if that is what you feel, it is understandable and it belongs to you. With the grounded, self possessed, I always knew who I was quality of someone for whom this revelation confirms what was never actually in doubt. Your truth was never contingent on their seeing it. You were always who you were, regardless of the version of you that existed in their partial photograph understanding. The developing of the full picture changes their relationship to the truth about you. It does not create that truth. It was always there. You were always there in the full, complete, nothing missing version that the partial photograph could not contain. And that version, the actual one, the real one, the one that the people who have always seen you clearly have never had any trouble recognizing, is what is about to become visible to someone who was working with less than the full picture. Let them see it now. Not by performing anything, not by constructing the presentation of the full truth for their consumption, simply by continuing to be what you have always been, which is something the full picture, when it fully develops, was always going to confirm. The truth about you is good. The truth about you has always been good. And the person who is discovering that in the specific, humbling, foundation level way of someone whose confident partial view has just been replaced by the full image is arriving at something they should have had access to much sooner. Better late than never. And in this case, with everything the misreading cost you, even late feels significant, because the truth is finally arriving in all of its clarity, in all of its accuracy, in all of its generous, complete, nothing partial about it fullness. Stand in it as you have always stood in it, even when no one was looking. Even when the partial picture was the only one available. Even when being seen accurately felt like something that was never going to come. It is coming. The whole truth about you, finally visible to the eyes that needed to see it most. If this reading found you today, if something here gave language to the experience of being misread and confirmed that the correction is approaching, stay close, subscribe, and come back. Because the story of the full truth becoming visible is one worth following all the way through to its most complete and most vindicating chapter. And the next reading will be there for every moment of the revealing.